guys. So my name is Alex. I'm Mrs. Halpern's daughter, and I'm really excited because this week I'm going to be your guest reader. Woo! So I'm going to be reading a book. It's by the author Dan Gutman, and the illustrations are by Jim Pallett, and basically these are really cool books. It's called the Weird School series. So these are chapter books, and I know right now chapter books may be a little bit hard and you're working your way to them, but keep practicing and one day you could read these really cool stories. So for the time being, I'm going to read them to you, and I'm going to be asking you a bunch of questions during the time that I'm reading. Maybe some prediction questions, maybe some questions about what we've read, and who else knows? So I'm going to start reading, okay? The name of this book is called Miss Cuddy is Nutty. Now, I've had a lot of crazy teachers in my lifetime, and I'm really old, so, I've had a bunch. And I know a bunch of my friends have also had some pretty crazy teachers. Even your teacher is a little bit doo-doo. No, I'm just kidding. So, I'm going to start reading, okay, guys? So, this is the title page. And these are the table of contents. This book has 11 chapters. Okay, here we go. So these are this is the first picture. So these are all the characters that we are going to meet. Now, I'm sure you've talked about in Mrs. Halpern's class what a character is. So can you tell your parents or your loved ones that are sitting with you at home while you're reading this, what is a character? Here we go, and this is the first picture. I wonder what's going to happen. That's a pretty crazy teacher wearing a cape. Let's see. The title is, How Do You Like Them Apples? My name is AJ, and I hate it when my school gets attacked by monsters. I should explain. It all started the other day when our new teacher, Mr. Cooper, came flying into the room. And I do mean flying. Mr. Cooper thinks he's a superhero, but he's not a very good one because he knocked over the garbage can and fell on the floor. Stuff spilled all over the place. We all ran over helping him up. Mr. Cooper had a black plastic bag in his hand and a letter A on his cape. It is I, he announced, Apple Man. Apple Man? Asked Ryan and Michael. Who ever heard of a superhero named Apple Man? Asked Alexia. Who rides a skateboard all the time? Today we are going to learn about apples, said Mr. Cooper. Why? Asked Neil, who we call the nude kid even though he wears clothes. Because it's part of the Common Core, said Mr. Cooper. Get it? Nobody got it, but Mr. Cooper didn't care. He took some apples out of the bag and passed them around. When I was a kid, we used to say, an apple a day keeps the doctors away, Mr. Cooper told us. You threw the apples at the doctors? I asked. Then everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. Did you know there were 7,000 kinds of apples grown all over the world? Mr. Cooper asked us. But only one is native to North America, the crab apple. I know something about apples, said Andrea Young, this annoying girl with curly brown hair. If you put an apple in water, it won't sink. Apples have a lot of air in them. Very good, Andrea, said Mr. Cooper. Andrea fist bumped her friend Emily, the big crybaby. Then she smiled the smile that she smiles to let everybody know that she knows something nobody else knows. She thinks she is so smart. Why, I can't. A chunk full of apples fall on her head? Mr. Cooper told us it was time for math. If there are 6 apples on the table and you take away 4 of them, how many do you have? Mr. Cooper asked. Andrea's waving her hand in the air. She needed to be rescued from a desert island. 2 apples, she said, because 6 minus 4 is 2. Then she made her smiley smile again. No, said Mr. Cooper. If there are 6 apples on a table and you take away 4 of them, you have 4 of them, of course. You You just took 4 of them away. But, we all laughed because Andrea said but, which sounds like but, even though it only has 1 T. Ha ha ha, na boo boo on Andrea. Mr. Cooper taught us a lot of his interesting stuff about apples. Did you know that gravity was discovered when an apple fell on some guy's head? Me neither. That's when the most amazing thing in the history of the world happened. The morning announcements came over the loudspeaker. Well, that's not the amazing part, because the morning announcements come over the loudspeaker every morning. The amazing part was what happened after that. I'm not going to tell you what it was. Okay, I'll tell you. But you have to read the next chapter. So na boo boo on you. So that was chapter 1. A lot of cool stuff about apples. So tell me, what's your favorite apple? My favorite apple are the really good, red, delicious ones that you pick right from the tree. We have a tradition in my family that Mrs. Halpert and I every year go apple picking and we make apple crisp, which is kind of like a pie. So what's your favorite apple? And what's a cool tradition that maybe you do with apples in the fall time? Maybe a cool smell that you like with apples? All right, we're going to read chapter 2. The title is A Surprise Guest. What do you think your predictions are now? I don't know. We're going to have to find out. So chapter 2. Our school secretary, Miss Patty, does the announcements every morning. We pledge the allegiance, and then she tells us the weather, what's for lunch, and who has birthdays that day. It's pretty boring. At the end of today's announcements, Miss Patty said, all students and teachers, please report to the all-purpose room for a surprise assembly. We had to walk single file 1,100,000 miles to the all-purpose room. Mr. Cooper made us sit boy, girl, so we wouldn't sit next to anybody we liked. I had to sit between Andrea and Emily. Our principal, Mr. Klutz, climbed up on the stage. He has no hair at all. I mean none. He used to have hair, but it fell out or something. Everybody was buzzing. So this is all of them sitting and waiting to hear what the assembly is about. Well, not really. People don't buzz. Bees buzz. It would be weird if people buzzed, like bees. But we're all talking. Mr. Klutz held up his hand and made a peace sign, which means, shut up. Thank you, he said. We have a very special guest at our elementary school today. We all buzzed some more, and you'll never believe who walked out on the stage in that moment. Nobody, because somebody rolled out on the stage in a wheelchair. It was Miss Elementary. Elementary is a really old lady who used to teach at our school 1,100,000 years ago. She must have been a good teacher because after she retired, the school is named after her. There's a big sign on the grass out in the front that says, Elementary School. One time when Miss Mentry came to our school, things got out of hand. She was there for a food fight. Pickles and chips, and this is Miss Elementary. Meatballs and burritos and tater tots were flying through the air. It was cool. We gave Miss Mentry a standing ovation. A standing ovation is when everybody gets up from their seats and claps their hands. When you stand up and clap your hands, it's a lot better when you just sit there and clap your hands. Nobody knows why. At first, I wasn't going to stand up, but all the teachers stood up. Then a few kids stood up, and then a lot more kids stood up. And then I felt like I would look like a dork if I didn't stand up, so I stood up. While we were clapping, Mr. Klutz dragged out a big white piece of cardboard, and it was about the size of a door. Miss Mentry brought gifts for the school today, Mr. Klutz announced. She's giving us a door? I asked. What do we need a door for? We have plenty of doors. It's not a door, Arlo, Andrea said, rolling her eyes. She calls me by my real name because she knows I don't like it. It's a check. Miss Mentry is donating money to our school, dumbhead. I wanted to say something mean to Andrea, but all I could think was, your face looks like a door. In my head, I was wondering why Miss Mentry's check was so big. My parents use checks, and their checks are about the size of a dollar bill. Why would anybody need to have a check the size of a door? I can imagine how big Miss Mentry's wallet is. Mr. Klutz handed the microphone to Miss Mentry. Thank you for all your wonderful welcome, she said. I will always have a special place in my heart for this school. And to show my appreciation, I would like to give you this. let's turn the check around so we can see the other side. This is what it looked like. So that's Mr. Klutz, the principal, and that's Miss Mentry, and that's the check. That's a lot of money. What? $1 million, I shouted. $1 million, shouted Alexia. $1 million, shouted Ryan. In case you were wondering, we were all shouting, $1 million. Everyone started yelling and screaming and shrieking and hooting and hollering and generally freaking out. You should have been there. So that was chapter 2. Now, what would you do with $1 million? I know I would donate some of it to some good charities and take the rest to, work and pay off some bills. What would you guys do? All right, that's it for today. So tomorrow I'm going to be reading chapters 3 and 4. Make your predictions. The next chapter 3 says 100,000 pizzas. See you tomorrow.